Awesome. Well, we got Amanda Olivari here with us. So appreciate your time to do this quick interview. And I thought you had some awesome examples of Leadstreet. So Remax Leadstreet, we call them fee-free leads that come from Remax.ca, the app, numerous other places, global network, the collections website, they all funnel into Leadstreet. And a lot of times some of our agents have said, oh, I never get any good leads from that. Meanwhile, we have other agents making tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars off those leads. So Amanda had some great kind of experience with that. So appreciate you taking the time to do this today.
Thanks for having me on here.
So why don't we start with kind of like when you started. I remember you had a few kind of initial leads and some stuff you worked that turned into business. What was your like approach with Leadstreet Leads when you first got licensed?
So I think when I very first got licensed, I had no leads. So I took those very seriously. So it was my very first lead was one that I just closed just a few months ago, but I also had a really good lead that led me to Bakerville. Normally, would I have taken a Bakerville lead? Probably not, but at that time, all I had was time on my hands. So that was a lead that I worked on really hard, and I got it, and it closed really quickly. And I'm still in contact with that client. But the last one that I just closed a few months ago, I actually got it in my first month of starting with Remax. So it was in October, 2 Octobers ago. And we went out right away. They were a younger couple, lived out of town. One of them lived in Calgary, one lived here. We saw about, I'd say 15 to 20 properties. There was a lot of time and effort put into it. And we were at the property we were going to offer on, and they went home, and somehow within that day, things really changed for them. And they called me and they were upset, really, like I could see in their voice that they were upset, feeling badly that they were really going to take away this offer. They weren't going to put in the offer. And I initially was very upset. I was quite sad because it was, I don't think my first sale, but it was one of my first sales where I really felt like I put a lot of legwork in. And I actually remember specifically asking, did I do something, that wasn't like, did I do something to not help you, sort of commit to a home? And she right away was like, no, we will come to you. We will come to you. So I think I could have taken that one of two ways. I could have never reached out to them again. We were looking at $300,000 condos at that time. And I just, over the course, I'd set them up on a search. I kept them on that search. And then I sort of sent them, little, tidbits here and there. And to be truthfully honest with you, I never got a response. So I sent an email, never responded back to me, wished them Merry Christmas, never responded, checked out a couple times just to see if their situation changed, but never like an aggressive, weekly thing. It was just sort of like, every so often. And just a couple months ago, they reached out and said they hoped that I had time to take them back on, was exactly what she said. And, that they would be honored to work with me, which I thought was quite lovely. So, and we ended up closing on an $800,000 property. Awesome. And so really, in the end, I think that was just a bit of a couple of things. I think that I didn't take that situation to heart, that I realized that lead was very important. Like, I think more and more I get into this business, the more I realize how every single name you get is really crucial to your business, like survival game.
Yep. And I think one of the things I know, we appreciate you were on the panel with Christine Chorney before, where we talked about like agent to agent referrals too. But it's one of the key mindsets that a lot of successful agents have is the attitude that like every lead is a good lead. Like, and they're still qualifying. They're not showing the houses to people that aren't pre-qualified for a mortgage. Like, you still qualify the lead, but your attitude and approach to like every lead, every inquiry is like, oh, this could be my good next lead, next sale, right? But it's also what I think, I mean, you had, I talk about it a lot of times, but I feel proud that I called the rock star on hiring you. I feel like when we first interviewed you, I thought, man, you have all the building blocks to be very successful in this business. You had some business background, like you ran retail stores before, you have the lifestyle set up, you have a good network, but all of those things won't make you successful unless you have the right attitude and work ethic behind it. And so I think that's what I think has helped you achieve the success you've had so far, is that you have the right attitude on things, and you also put the work in, right? Like
Mhm.
you're still taking them on, showing them properties. Like you're not sloughing them off like, oh, they ghosted me or they didn't get back to me, so I'm moving on to other clients. Well, no, then you would have missed out on an $800,000 sale, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm working with another Leadstreet right now. They were on a property about, I would say, 8 months ago. And it was two brothers. They were originally purchasing together. We went out, didn't work out. They contacted me again, set them on something. We did put in an offer. It didn't go through. And at that time, I really thought that they were kind of out of the game. But I just kept them on the search, kept kind of reaching out, give them a little, here or there. And we're just pending now today on just under 500,000. So again, we looked at a 320,000 duplex. And so that time it allowed me to kind of give them a couple, options. It ended up being that the brother was actually able to be approved for something higher on his own. And so he's just going to purchase it on his own. And so, it's funny how those things, and I do think if I would have given up, they would have just gone to another agent, right? I mean, it's just, really quite easy, I think, to be honest, to just go on to the next agent who takes them on.
Yeah.
And so that's how I look at it.
So with most of these buyers, at what point are you putting them into buyer brokerage, or do you do exclusive, non-exclusive, or just at the point of offer? Like, how do you work with some of these kind of more cold leads?
Mm-hmm. I'm probably not the best example at that, in all honesty. And I do, though, think that has come back to benefit me sometimes. And it's only because I have been told a couple of times recently, again, another property I just closed on was a lead from within our office. And specifically, he told me the reason why he came back to me, I had only set him up on a lead, and I contacted him a couple times. So the effort that I was putting in was minimal. I showed him maybe 3 properties. Then he told me his timeline was changing. And so I kind of let him go. He reached out to me and he said it was specifically because he saw that my hard work at the beginning and throughout, and not asking for that paperwork and being so give that to me or I will not work for you.
Yeah.
And he said that he actually went through, I was about the 6th agent that he worked with, or met or called on a sign call, who knows. And so I do think sometimes, I know you said this before, reading your audience, I do think that's quite important. I think some clients are willing to sign everything right at the beginning and happy to do that. But I do think sometimes there's some clients that are a little bit hesitant, right? But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't put in the work to gain those clients' trusts.
Totally.
So,
Well, and I think you nailed it on the head there, is that it's about building trust and investing in the relationship. So in a world there's so much information online, there's a growing attitude that they can just call the listing agent or they can just inquire. The hotter the market is, the less people think they need a realtor. Meanwhile, it's actually more that they need a realtor to advise them on, strategies and different offer options. You do a bully offer? Do you do escalation clause to win the multiple offer? Is it worth that price or not in a multiple? We can advise them as a third party advisor. But again, I think investing in building the relationship, and also the thing that I think, it's a simple thing, but that you do well, is that you don't just rely on the auto search. You're oh, I said it and forget it. You're sending them, wishing them Merry Christmas. You're sending them notes. You're touching base, building relationship. That's the part that you're doing over time, and that's what builds the level of trust and really rapport that they then want to work with you. Because we all know, even if they're under contract, they might still call another agent or go to an open house or whatever. So you got to know that you actually have the relationship. The contract backs up the relationship. The relationship's first, right?
Right. Yeah.
So what do you use to keep track of all these follow-ups? You have all these leads in your pipeline. How do you organize yourself?
So I'm pretty old school. I actually just have a little notepad binder and I just write them through. I mean, I just keep track if it's a Leadstreet or if it's a lead within the office or if it's a referral from a mortgage broker, whichever way. And then I honestly just write down really quickly, like email sent August 23rd, text sent this. And it just kind of gives me, and if they respond to me with something, I'll kind of give myself a little note. But I think I always look at these things as how I would want to be treated, not even if I'm home shopping, even when I go into a store, I like to be acknowledged, but I don't like to be bombarded. I want to feel kind of supported, but I also don't want to feel, overly annoyed where I'm yeah, like it, sometimes I think that there's a little too much for me when I'm, dealing with things. And so I try to do that the same for my clients. I want to make sure that they're always feeling supported, but not feeling like I'm aggressive or, like trying to get them just to get the business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, for me, it generally does work out to be a little bit more sort of undercover with my reach outs. And so it's, it's a bit more like if I'm reaching out, it's not necessarily like, hey, you still want a house? It's a bit more like, how are you doing? Is there anything I can help you with? How's life? I try to remember a few tidbits of our, conversation. Did your daughter start school? Those type of things. And it's a bit more of a conversation point, right? So,
yeah, and I think that's gold as well. Is that
yeah.
I shared in the referrals training that we did this video that I saw on LinkedIn of Simon Sinek being interviewed about, and he specifically talked about our industry. His mortgage broker helped, and this is Simon Sinek. He's probably like one of the world influencers at this point in business, whatever, and specifically around like mindset stuff. Great author, speaker. Well, this is a tremendous potential referral source, right? Like the mortgage broker who helped him buy this large home, right? And he's on stages and audience and tons of video. And his response was, and he's an expert in human behavior. And his response was, the guy called me on possession day and said, how did the move go? How's the house? How's everything? And he's like, oh, isn't this nice? He really cares about me, that he's calling to check in on me. And then at the end of the conversation, he said, oh, and by the way, if you know anybody else looking to do mortgages, or you can keep me top of mind. And for him, that reaction to him said, oh, you don't care about me. You only care about my ability to get you other business. You got to separate them at times and just build rapport, just invest in the relationship. And then he said, if he called me 2 weeks after possession and said, hey, I just wanted to follow up again, would really love it if you could give me a review, or let me know how you thought my service was. And if you know anyone else looking for mortgage services, I'd really appreciate a referral. Well, if he did this after, when he'd already invested in the relationship, and these days, Sadler Institute is the best research. It's 15 to 18 touches before someone makes a buying decision, which is in our industry like the decision to call the realtor, or like they made a buying decision to sell their house or buy a house. So what you're doing is doing that formula. It's like, how's the kids? How's this? Merry Christmas. Touch, 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 touch. Plus they're getting the emails with listings.
Right.
So now when they actually know you a bit, right? And do you make a point to connect with some of these people on social and stuff as well?
I try. That is definitely one of my to-dos. I feel like this coming up year is to be a little bit better at sourcing them out and finding them online. I'm finding that my clients are finding me more online. So then that makes me, be able to communicate more, but I have to be, I think, a little bit more like proactive in finding them first, especially the ones that I don't have them as clients, right? But the one thing to what you were just saying about the sort of ask for referrals, I've really found that a delay for a couple of weeks after the sale actually closes, and sending out my thank you email, I hope you're settling in well, and it has all those things in it, and one paragraph says basically the best thing you can do for me to know that I did well for you is to give your name, my name out to family and friends. And that really has been working better for me as a separate entire entity to when we're having our transaction. To have that ask happen before I definitely wasn't aggressive enough at the beginning, but I think that does work when referring back to what you were saying.
Yeah, awesome. And now what about your profile? So on Leadstreet, on Remax, you have your Remax website, you have your Remax profile, and then all the things that show up online. A lot of people say, we'll hear them say, I haven't gotten a lead in 2 years. And we'll go, well, why not? And the funniest one I ever had was an agent who said, Leadstreet's, how do I turn this off? All I get is these requests for horse and equestrian properties all the time. And then I looked at their profile and they were an equestrian specialist.
Oh.
I was like, well, yeah, because your profile, like, it's actually working really well. If you don't want those leads and you don't want to refer them to someone else and take 25%,
right?
Right? I mean, she could have just been referring them. I mean,
Right.
your profile should be accurate, but so you're getting leads from it that are generating you business. I think the other thing is you have the right attitude that this is just a lead to start a conversation.
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing is 9 times out of 10, they bought something totally different than what they inquired on.
They really did. I don't think I've closed a lead on a property that they've actually sent me.
Right.
If I can think of one. And so I think that that's just when they're sending a lead, that's really what it is. They're just inquiring about a property. So it's just a matter of you figuring out what they actually need, and if that's not it, to keep on working and finding out what it is, right? So, yep. And I think that there can be, like for me at the beginning, I don't know if the communication feels so quick at the beginning. And so I think that's where that delay of like feeling like you want to help them. But I honestly do think if you stick with it, they can turn into something. Mm-hmm.
And so what did you do with your profile? Do you think there's anything unique about, we'll probably get your profile and share it on the recording.
Set it up. I chose, because after I did get the Bakerville one, I just did want to make sure that I was set up and not like too far of a span out. And so I did go back in there, but I don't think there's anything special. I think I have just my like, social media things popped on there and my website and all that stuff on there, but I think it's pretty basic. I'm pretty sure I just did what you told me to do.
Right. Well, yeah, you did a good job with it. Here,
yeah,
I want to share it just so we can see the example. So I just searched your name Remax, which is not how most Leadstreet will find you, because they're looking at properties on remax.ca or things like that. Right. But as far as your online reputation, your website, which is nice that you've done as well, is number 2. Then your office profile on the office website, then global, Facebook, realtor.ca. So like that's your online reputation. This is where clients find you. And this is your Remax profile. It's a nice, friendly, approachable photo. You have social links, your website. It's simple contact. And the funny part is that's the thing that often converts better. You'd be surprised how many people you can't quickly find phone number or reach out to them. You give it your cell phone number, so you get texts and things, and you have a bio about yourself. The one thing I would say you should do now that you've got more Rank My Agent reviews, we could link your Rank My Agent profile here, so that those then show up on remax.ca and on realtor.ca. So you can have them show up on your realtor profile and your Remax profile, and it'll have a little thing here with your, you've had however many reviews and you're 5-star ranked in that.
Right.
Yeah, that could be another little tweak. But overall, yeah, like the bottom line point is the leads are there with the basics done, and it's about how you follow up with those leads and how you really like care for the people and get to know them and build the relationship over time. And it starts with the attitude you have, which was, any lead's a good lead. I'll work it, and I'm going to try to advise and build the relationship and give them advice and genuinely care. Like, I think you genuinely care about your clients. I see it when the gift baskets you do, and you have nice personal touches through the process. Your branding is all really great. You're creating an excellent like customer experience. You're not just a one and done realtor or like the used car salesman, like real estate agent, right? Yeah.
And I think quickly I realized the clients that the clients that we kind of like work together very quickly appreciate those things. And there's some clients that I've had to really, really work much harder. And to be honest, like sometimes those pieces go unnoticed, and I'm starting to learn a little bit more about, like attracting the clients that you work well with, and that, that comes to it too. Like when I find a lead street that I feel like I really can close, I really do. It's because I really feel like we had some sort of connection. I want to continue that relationship on, right? I will sort of, if I am not getting a relationship based response back to me, and it's very You know, it does become a little bit trickier for me because that is important to me, but I really do think Leadstreet can be a good thing if you are willing to work and try at it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks for sharing those stories. And do you know how many, like, have you tracked how many deals you've done already in your first couple years?
For Leadstreet,
Yeah.
I think this one will be my 5th.
Yeah, great.
So, I mean, you're talking 5 free leads. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, well, free deals kind of, right? And
Free
then
deals, yeah.
the big
And who
thing,
knows what they'll lead to.
exactly. So the big
Mhm.
thing we always talk about is that's now a new, I mean, Richard Robbins, all the coaches, Tom Ferry talk about growing your database every year. And
Right.
so now you have 5 more like potential ambassadors to refer you to their network of friends and family.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that's awesome. Well, anything else you want to add about Lead Street?
Nope, I think that's good for me.
Beautiful. Well, thank you very much for taking the time. I hope, I think it'll help a lot of other people look at that, and especially newer agents. Like you've had a really strong start to your career, and I think you're going to continue to have a successful career. And we're proud to have you part of the office. So, yeah,
Thank
thanks
you.
again.
Thanks again. See you.